Welcome back to Daily Driven Alpha. Today we're taking this 1600 motor and mechanical clutch driven gearbox and we're putting it into the Giulia Super. So we're using the Super as a mule. So a couple of little things. What we've done to help give us some clearance as we move the motor in and out is we have moved the idler, you'll see here, where it's normally bolted up onto the body. We've disconnected it and dropped it down. So what that does is it gives you more clearance here from this actual piece in the steering rack as you bring the motor out or you put it back in. Another area that will bind is the front sway bar. We've managed to get past it, but some people will disconnect that and drop it down just to give you a little bit of extra room. The other area to watch is obviously the front end here. You can see there's been a couple of little marks made as we've pulled it out. Now on this car we're not too worried about scraping the paint. You'll have an area here underneath the tunnel that gets caught and you'll chip paint. So if you've got a car that has been painted and you're worried about that, our recommendation is try and get the gearbox out with the engine in situ, drop the gearbox out first and then pull the motor out. That way you're not busting up all your paint. But for us, we're not too worried about it at the moment because eventually this car's going to get completely repainted. Other things that we've done is just made sure all the wiring, hoses, etc. are out of the way. Even taken little things like the horns off the brackets just to give us a little bit more clearance. And stating the obvious, but we've taken the bonnet off completely, so you know that's something that I'd suggest you always do when you're working on the motors. Just makes it so much easier. With the motor itself, what we've done is put the headers, the original cast headers back on, and so much easier to tighten everything up when you've got it outside of the vehicle. Made sure things like the the reverse wires are out. We've put the exhaust bracket on. We've put the gearbox mount on and left it loose, so we can do that. We'll need to put a seal in here for the tacho. With the donut, we've got that prepared, ready to go. What we did was, there's a nut in there. We've taken that out. You can see we've got the bush on first, but if you're working on this, sometimes it's easier just to take this entire assembly out of the back end of the gearbox and work on the bolts that way. If you're trying to do it in situ in the car, you're going to bind up in these areas here. It becomes really painful and difficult and very frustrating. So, other things we've done, we prefer to take the two spark plugs out here just in case we end up putting pressure on them. We don't want to damage threads or crack them. Something simple. We've put all the carburetors and all the assembly, the manifold together. We've replaced these rubber mounts. The ones that we had previously on the 1750 were cracked. And if you've got those that are cracked, you're going to have a hell of a time getting your mixtures right because you're going to be pulling air in through there all the time. So they're in, distributors in, alternators on, water pump's been left on. Fuel pump, we don't know how that's going to go, but we'll see how it goes when we fire it up. Make sure your engine mounts are on before you start putting it into the car. Something obvious, tighten them up. Okay. We've got the bracket, the support bracket in for the air filters. Starter motor is in, ready to go, bolted up. A lot easier to do this outside of the car. Don't forget to put your earth strap on. Simple as that may sound, right? Better to do it here. Conversely, when you're pulling the engine out, make sure you disconnect this before you start pulling it out. So really, this is where we're at the moment. This is going in there, and then we'll test fire it today. One other thing we did is we just took the opportunity quickly to just clean up the tail shafts, put a bit of black paint on them. I mean, it's not necessary, but they were looking pretty ratty. You'll notice that these universal joints are an older style universal joint, and they've got grease nipples on them. So, of course, we've taken the opportunity to re-grease those as well. Some of the other things too, just take the opportunity to clean up all your faces where your bolts are going to be going while you've got things out. That way it makes it a lot easier when you're putting things back together and then pulling things apart. You've got clean faces to work off. So, engine to go in there. That's our mission today. We'll update you over the next day or so. Hopefully we'll have it running, so stay tuned. Hope you've enjoyed that, and thanks for watching.